So according to reports, Rodrygo wants to leave Real Madrid this summer, and so in this video I thought I'd analyse how good he actually is. If he's worth the reported £85 million price tag, why if he was to sign for a club like Manchester United, Liverpool or Arsenal, he would provide something incredibly unique and valuable, whilst also looking at how United could potentially finance this deal and whether it would even be worth it. So I have to say that Rodrygo is one of my favourite players in world football to watch, and he's one of the few players who I would consider spending big on in order to bring him to Manchester United, and this is because what he offers is so unique in modern football. I will analyse him statistically in just a minute, but from the eye test, you can clearly see that his value lies in his ability to progress the ball through the middle and final third, into chance creating and goal scoring positions in and around the box, and he's able to do this through his mesmerising close control dribbling, which combined with his quick feet, acceleration over shorter distances and fluidity in his movement when dropping a shoulder and changing direction quickly, makes him a huge asset for whatever side he signs for. Because whilst most wide attackers in the modern game require space in front of them in order to carry the ball into, or an isolated 1v1 situation, Rodrygo is able to receive the ball to feet, and even in congested areas, with 2 or 3 opposition players in close proximity, he's still able to weave in and out, combining with teammates with sharp 1-2s and short passing interplays, which allows him to progress the ball through even the most highly compact defensive shapes, and this makes him the ideal player to have in a relationist system, and I'm going to explain the importance of this as well as how it relates to Ruben Amorim's system in just a minute. But before I do, if you want to check out any cheap good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfifa.co. They've got a variety of different current season and retro jerseys, including this 2006-2007 white Manchester United away shirt with Ronaldo 7 on the back, which they actually did send me, as well as this Juventus Zidane shirt from the 1990s as well, which are 2 shirts that I've been looking for quite a while and found it hard to find. If you use code Atlantis at checkout, you'll get a 10% discount, so I'll leave it linked in the description and also in the comment section below. So if you are a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know that I spoke about how Ruben Amorim and other coaches who are heavily influenced by the positional play theory like Pep Guardiola, Maresca and Arteta need to start incorporating a greater amount of relationist strategies into their possession systems, because the rigid and structured positional play systems that have taken inspiration from Guardiola's City side over the past decade and have been most prominent in the Premier League and even throughout Europe have now become far too predictable and easy for opposition sides to nullify, simply by sitting deep and compact using a semi-man-to-man approach that allows them to congest the space between the lines in the centre and pressurise players fairly easily when they receive the ball or just cut off the pass into them in the first place. However, by using more of a relationist approach and giving attacking players greater freedom to roam across the pitch, both vertically and horizontally, this stops the opposition being able to assign a designated player to pressurise your attackers, whilst also allowing you to create overloads and then play around the opposition's defensive shape in that particular area of the pitch. However, in order to use relationism successfully, you need players who excel at operating in tight and congested areas, and Rodrygo's close control dribbling and short passing interplay, in my opinion, makes him the ideal relationist attacker. And from the eye test, it's hard to watch Rodrygo and not see him as one of the best attacking midfielders or versatile forwards in world football. Now I'll come on to how Amorim could utilise Rodrygo tactically in his 3-4-3 system, but first let's see how Rodrygo's stats back up the eye test. So we'll start with his ball carrying and dribbling, and as you can see, Rodrygo is one of the best attacking midfielders when it comes to progressing the ball via his carrying, ranking in the 98th percentile for his carries into the final third, as well as around the 85th percentile for both his progressive carries and his carries into the penalty area. His take-on metrics aren't as high, but ranking in the 73rd percentile for both his successful take-ons completed, as well as the percentage he completes as well, is still highly impressive. Now passing wise, as you can see from the eye test, Rodrygo's short passing is elite, exceptionally high volume and high completion rates, meaning that he's very reliable when it comes to keeping possession. However, this is where we come on to the area of Rodrygo's game where I think his output needs to improve, as whilst he does rank around the 65th to 75th percentile range for his progressive passes and his passes into the final third, he sits in just the 24th percentile for his passes into the penalty area and the 34th for his XG assisted. Although as a counterpoint, what I would say is that I think a lot of this is to do with the fact that he plays for Real Madrid, which may sound contradictory, because surely you'd expect a player playing for Real to rank higher for these metrics than for other clubs, particularly in La Liga. However, I think this is largely due to the role that Rodrygo plays for Ancelotti's side. See, Real Madrid use a highly relationist approach, where Rodrygo alongside Mbappe, Vinicius and Bellingham are given the freedom to drift around the pitch, rather than being instructed to hold their positions in certain areas. Vinicius and Mbappe are Real Madrid's primary goal scorers, whereas Rodrygo's contributions come more through his ability to link play and progress the ball into the final third. In terms of what benefits the system as a whole, he doesn't need to be the player who is constantly looking to take the extra dribble, find a risky pass into the box to create a chance, or shooting from long range. He can certainly do all of these things, but Rodrygo understands that what is best for the offensive system as a whole is if he doesn't overcomplicate things, keeps his passing simple, and plays more of a facilitating role for Vinicius and Mbappe. And we can see this with his goal scoring output, as he ranks significantly lower for his non-penalty goals and non-penalty XG in the 61st and 43rd percentiles respectively. Although he does overperform his non-penalty XG by 0.09 per 90, showing that he is clinical when he does get shooting opportunities. However, looking back at his FBref reports from previous seasons, I think you can draw a direct comparison between Mbappe being signed and Rodrygo's progressive passing, chance creating and goal scoring output declining. If you look back at his goal scoring and progressive passing metrics from previous seasons in La Liga and in the Champions League, you can see that they are higher, and particularly in the last few Champions League campaigns, you can see that his non-penalty goals are significantly higher. But more tellingly, his non-penalty XG is higher, which suggests to me that with the arrival of Mbappe, Rodrygo's role has changed for the balance of the team, with him now picking up the ball in deeper areas, meaning that he isn't getting into chance creating or goal scoring positions higher up the pitch as frequently as he did when Mbappe wasn't there. In terms of pure goal scoring and creative output, he's hit 13 goals and 10 assists in 50 games this season. Last season that was 18 goals and 9 assists in 52 games, and the season before in 22-23 it was 19 goals and 11 assists in 57 games. And so this is why, despite Rodrygo's progressive passing, chance creating and goal scoring numbers not looking as impressive as you may hope, considering the reported price tag, I think in Ruben Amorim's Manchester United, Arne Slot's Liverpool or Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, where he is likely going to be the main man in the attack, we will see him not just being an elite level ball progressor, but also significantly improve his goal scoring and chance creating output. And add on to this the fact that Rodrygo has proven over the last few years that he is capable of the spectacular and is very much a big game player, and you can start to see why he is worth the sort of fee that has been quoted. But the questions for Manchester United are, where does he fit into Ruben Amorim's system, and would he be worth that sort of money? So in terms of where he fits in tactically, I think he would be perfect to play in either of those two interior forward roles, which of course would be his primary position in the side. However, I also think he could be used as a centre forward, playing a similar kind of false 9 role to Xerxes. But as an interior forward, I think in the build-up phase he's ideal, as with Ruben Amorim instructing the two interior forwards to drop into deeper and narrower positions in order to drag the fullbacks high up the pitch as they look to continue the man-to-man press, Rodrygo has the turning acceleration and pace over longer distances to be able to draw the fullback high with movement towards the ball, before then spinning in behind and looking to break away into the space created in the channel, looking to receive a direct pass into this space or a layoff from the centre forward, wherefrom he has the electric ball carrying ability to be a potent weapon in the artificial counter-attack. But also, because of how good he is technically, if Amorim incorporated a more relationist approach into his build-up strategy, then this would allow Rodrygo the freedom to drop into deeper positions, looking to receive an incisive pass in behind the opposition's midfield line press, before then linking play with a layoff or turning his presser and driving forward. Further up the pitch in the middle third, once again, by going with a more relationist strategy and giving Rodrygo the freedom to roam, he can drop into areas either out wide, between the midfield and defensive lines, or even in front of the midfield line, looking to move away from the opposition's left back, which usually will be his designated presser, allowing him to become the free man, wherefrom he's exceptional at progressing the ball through congested areas, either with his dribbling or ball carrying ability, or linking with shorter passing interplay, which I think could work very well with the likes of Bruno, Xerxes, Ahmad and Kobbie Mainoo. However, it's in the final third where I think Rodrygo could improve further and become one of the best attackers in world football, as once again with the freedom to roam, he's going to excel when connecting short passing sequences in wide and central areas around the box, but he also has that Brazilian magic to manipulate the ball in order to open up a shooting angle and then rifle the ball from range into the net, whilst also being able to increase the quantity of chances he gets by making third man runs between the lines ahead of the centre forward and looking to more frequently break into goal scoring positions inside of the box, wherefrom his quick feet, ball manipulation, composure and shooting technique can allow him to become one of United's main goal scorers. If United decided not to go big on a centre forward like Gyökeres or Osimhen and instead pursue Rodrygo, then I think a front three of Cunha and Rodrygo either side of Xerxes is not only perfectly balanced stylistically, with Xerxes' deeper movement to link play working to also drag a centre-back out of the back line and opening up the space for Cunha and Rodrygo to make penetrating runs into. But this would also give United two players in Cunha and Rodrygo who I think in these roles both have the ability to pick up 15 plus Premier League goals in a season, being United's main source of goal scoring rather than the centre forward. However, the real question is, how could United afford this, and would it even be worth it? Well, in terms of the cost, I think around £85 million is probably what Rodrygo is worth, and given that he's currently on just over £10.5 million a season at Real Madrid, United would probably have to pay him at least £13 to £15 million plus bonuses, I would guess. One fairly simple way United could finance this deal is by winning the Europa League, because I have seen it reported that the difference between United not qualifying for the Champions League compared with winning the Europa League and getting the prize money and then also qualifying is around £80 to £90 million. But also considering United would probably also have to bring in a Højlund upgrade, let's say someone around Højlund's price such as Liam Delap for £30 million, you would probably also have to move on at least one other player as well. And that could be Dalot, which could work with Real Madrid needing a right back if they don't get Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I would value Dalot between £30 to £35 million, which could be used in the Rodrygo deal, £50 million plus Dalot. Xerxes as well could be another. I do like Xerxes, but Rodrygo is definitely superior, and he could play a similar role to the Dutchman, as well as providing a lot of what he does for the team, alongside even more. And so if we did have to sell Xerxes to finance a deal, and could get between £35 to £40 million, I do think it would be worth doing, even though ideally I would like to keep him alongside Rodrygo. Bruno Fernandes has had interest from Real Madrid, but given that Rodrygo offers something completely different to Bruno, I do think it would be a massive risk that could hurt the side overall, as any sufficient Bruno Fernandes replacement would likely cost in excess of £60 million at least, which we probably wouldn't be able to afford alongside Rodrygo. So overall, I do think Rodrygo would be an excellent signing, given his unique skill set, elite level potential that could be realised as early as next season, his age profile having only turned 24 in January, alongside his versatility enabling him to play across the forward line. However, given the fee, it would depend on the budget and the cost of other signings, and so as much as I would love to see Rodrygo at United, it is an unlikely signing at this point. So let me know what you think of Rodrygo in the comment section below. Also, if you want to pick up any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfifa.co. I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comment section below. And you can use code ATLANTIS at checkout for a discount for a limited time. But if you do want to sign up to my Patreon to read the articles or join the in-game Instagram group chat, I'll leave that linked on the end screen now as well.